I know what I did wrong. It's coming up on YouTube now, so everybody get on and sorry. Everybody's on the YouTube like, where are y'all? We're waiting. I'm like, oh no.
We can't see you. Well, that was our test. Hopefully Demetria will be back with the birthday balloons.
That was so awesome.
We love you. We love you so much. Thank you for spending your special day with us.
It feels like a celebration. Like, it's cool. No worries.
You know, we should have a party later on with cocktails. Be like, zoom on that. Well, you can't drink right now while you're in quarantine, right?
I don't know what I'm allowed to do.
Stay alive and healthy.
Breathe in. So, there's other ways to celebrate.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I had a bottle of tequila in my freezer ready. Hey. So when she gets the test,
Look at Ty's smile. She's like, yes, I know that.
Tequila. That's baloney. All right, y'all should be good.
All right, I'm just telling Demetria to get on.
All right, I'm gonna bow back out.
All right. Look, you, Ty, you've been working hard. Looks clean back there.
Thanks. Still scrubbing.
I'm like, where's my co-host? Do I need to let her in? No.
I'll let her in if I need to, but I don't see her on there yet.
Oh, there
she is.
I'm gonna stop calling her phone, messing her up. Hey. Demetria, hi, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, is it afternoon? I don't know.
What's good afternoon? I'm awesome. Happy birthday, Andrew. We had a happy birthday dance and song on the last one where nobody could join us. So if everybody can say happy birthday to Andrew, we'll be able to start the show. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I love you so much. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, look at our baby.
All like the love and hugs.
Love you so much. Wakanda forever. All right. So that was a long pause between online rallies. Demetria, how have you been doing over the last couple of months?
Man, it's been a whirlwind again. Like everything happened so like we were talking about before everything happened. I mean, it's crazy that, we're still fighting, and we said that we were going to have to still fight because of the white supremacy period. And look at the election. Look at both elections. Look at this, your election. And then look at Trump's election. It's like, oh my God, while we still these white supremacists to come.
I'm like, it was basically, we looked at the uprising, which lasted over 120 plus days, still going on. And we hadn't talked since before then, because you got to convict, or the sentencing of Jeremy Joseph Christian happened. And we had been doing these rallies up until that time. And then the next thing I know, you hit the street. You finished getting him sentenced and hit the street. So do you want to go back there? That was what, May? You want to go back and just start over for people that might not have tuned in out of those 89,000 plus views?
Oh my God. In May, it was just crazy because in May, it just seemed like it amplified 3,000 times. You know what I'm saying?
Years since that date, right?
That whole conviction up until then. Then when he was convicted, I mean, the presence of the judge, the presence of what she said, what he said, when he called out Ted Wheeler, when he called out Pastor Mondane, and it's white supremacists. called out these supposedly people that care about our community. Like, are you what?
Oh, he was consoled by the judge. I mean, the entire time for those 4 weeks that y'all had to fight in that trial, it seemed as if the trial was there to set him free in consciousness and guilt and to kind of exonerate him. And the whole proceedings seemed to be that until we witnessed the conviction. And then at the sentencing, I don't believe that it would have been as harsh had he not assaulted you verbally. And the fact that he was in there with no cuffs, he snatched his mask off, he was, the verbal assault and everything else, it just seemed like that right there was the posturing of everything, all those 3-4 weeks, the evidence of their priorities for the benefit of white supremacy played out that day of his sentencing. And even played out again. I watched that video over and over again on World Star, on national news. There were little bits and pieces here locally, but we still didn't elevate the fact that white supremacy had a stronghold in Portland. But you had that evidence even before the uprising. Really, I think the anniversary of the murders was the same day that George Floyd was murdered. Yeah. Am I right? Yeah. And so everything played out within that time. And then we see the uprising and we see 100 plus days and we still see people denying racism. We had the primary election, which we know was super racist, but then we had this write-in campaign, like what says on your shirt, during the uprising, where we're literally addressing racism in its own front yard, backyard, basement, attic, and people still allowed it to play out the way we knew it would play out. But now the thing is that we expected it. We told other people to expect the consideration of identifying it, and then everybody has the confirmation. So now it's, what do we want to do with it? We got over 70 million people fighting to keep Trump in the White House. We have people that have voted against us consistently, but now what that looks like to us is evidence. We can't, I mean, when we talk about the Beckys and the Karens and how, people can make things happen, how like with the moms, how the world was motivated to listen to whatever they had to say, as long as it wasn't being led by Black women, like as if, let us know what we should do right now. That was evidence to me that we don't even have to be dealing with racism. You prefer it. It is substantial. It is a foundation. It is a tool that you will fight for. And it doesn't matter if you feel like you're not racist. We live in a racist society, which it feels like there's an injury if white supremacy isn't tolerated. Like somebody got hurt. Or,
just like that. Because you sit there and you look at the number and the reaction and the rallies that's happening right now in DC about white supremacists, but everybody wants to say it's something else. And it's
just like elected the author of the crime bill, and when people are dancing in the street.
In the streets, they were dancing when we marched at the Black and the Black Power March that I was so blessed to be a part of. They were dancing. We said 2, 4, 6, 8. Tell the people who we hate. Democrats, Republicans, the whole damn shit. What?
Okay, let them know, because that's the thing that got me, is that we all witnessed all of this. We are all participating in the uprising because of COVID and the inequities and the way they played out. We're all witnessing the shit show of Donald Trump and even locally Ted Wheeler. And we still say, well, everything's not about race. What do you say to that after all of this? Like, what do you say? Because they think that because now we do have a brown person that'll be in the White House, along with, like, out of all the people that ran, we picked the oldest white man out of all of them. I'm happy that we're done with Donald Trump. But what I think people need to realize is we're celebrating that he's no longer there. We're not celebrating that the Democrats have, regained control, because what that means to a lot of us activists and community members that are on the grassroots level seeking accountability, we've wanted them to be accountable to us even before Donald Trump became the president. And one of the things that I keep thinking about is how empowered those agencies that co-opt our work and, humiliate us and discredit us. And when they talk, side by side with political leaders about the damage to buildings and stuff like that, how all of them are about to be like supported through our work, like all the work that we've all done as community members, victims, survivors, communities, allies, comrades, doing all this work. And now they have been handed a big, platter of resources that we know are not going to drip down back into our communities. So we knew that ahead of time. And one of the things that was initiated was the balance of mutual aid. We're like, we don't depend on anything that y'all gonna do for us. We depend on developing mutual aid. So a lot of people realized when we first started these rallies, we talked about divesting from agencies that don't represent us and holding them accountable by reallocating those resources directly to advocates and activists on the ground and families in need. What has the movement of mutual aid, #BLM, what does that look like to you right now? How has that centered communities across the country? Because I know that with Moms United for Black Lives, you're doing outreach to people all over the place in their communities so that we don't have to worry about being reliant on the next, presidential administration.
See, that's the thing. We've always thought that as Black people, we've taught ourselves that, and we know that that's our lineage, that we have to work together and unite together. And it's so wonderful that everybody is catching on, because people are like, I hate this and I hate that, but in reality, what you hate is white supremacy, so let's work together. So that's what's wonderful about the people that's woke, is that they're saying this is what we need, is because we know our government isn't going to do anything. What's wonderful again is that it's this young man named Ellis that was in New York, and he has produced a wonderful mutual aid app that puts all cities that you can download it. You can put what you need, and you have someone there so that they can help you. It's wonderful, and it's getting off the ground, and it's amazing. And Chicago has the same thing going on right now. We're getting a 311 number so that we can produce agencies that actually help, because when you call 211, you get agencies that say, no, I don't help, period.
Mm-hmm. We don't have the resources. We don't have this.
And then you have to apply at a certain time, bring certain documents, wait. I personally was like, are you serious? You have to wait a whole day for $150, and you might give it to me on my rent. That's $1,600 or something.
Or you might go to the Urban League because it's an emergency, and they might make you wait 2 weeks, and you live in your car, and then they take your children, and then you can't get legal support to get them back. And it's like, why keep giving to these organizations when you see organizers saying that they don't show up in their communities? Redirecting to community matters. I watched that happen. It got so big when we were doing our mutual aid spreadsheet that we ended up getting contacted by Cash App. It was like, y'all have everybody coming through our network basically doing this thing. What are you doing, and how can we help? Because that is how you help people. I mean, I've watched some of the organizations that we partnered with early on that really start building up the foundation of mutual aid and getting that distribution out there. And I see them, now wanting to start like the organizations or setting up the nonprofits. And one of the things I wanted to say on this call is that if people are donating directly to your Venmo or your Cash App or your PayPal for the work that you're doing in community, why connect it to the system when we're building liberation? We're building liberation resources and movement support. And it's big, and you don't have to report it. They're paying you directly for your work. You're able to add someone's Cash App directly, and they don't have to go through the bureaucracy of an agency like mine saying, well, we don't know how much we can give you. Or, I think that was one of the biggest things that happened. I remember after we filed our federal lawsuit against Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., how one of the things they wanted to do was investigate where protesters were getting their money from. They were like, wait a minute, we need to find out where they're getting all these resources. And they really couldn't figure it out because it was literally people sharing their Cash App on their Snapchats, on their Twitters, on their Instagrams, showing the work and having more people show up. And I think what that did was, when you talk about the mutual aid app being in Chicago and Washington, D.C. and all that, everyone was able to communicate, seeing what was happening online. And that built a substantial resource for communities. So now it's like, what's next? What's the next step, you know? And having that app seems to be like a most effective way to kind of see what those next steps are, and also to kind of share that information with other communities. I think with now the second round of COVID, you know, the uprising of more people being sick, that this is the time to kind of spread awareness about mutual aid and how to build those systems in your communities. And I would tell like all of our allies and listeners, like, start building that impact in your community. Don't make it, you know, really, you know, impractical by trying to figure out, how do we write the grant? How do we get the organization started? Just go outside and organize. Start in your own basement, start in your own closet, your own pantry, start knocking on, you know, using that Nextdoor app and having people find a designated space to deliver items. But start doing what you can in your community, because mutual aid is how we're building social change. Like, the dynamics have changed a lot in 6 months.
Yes, and it's beautiful because people are stepping up. You know, they know there is a need. You know, people have, you know, this unity now that people didn't have before, because they were so distracted by other things and other things in their life that's going on, but they can't be distracted because of the corona. They can't be distracted because it's in their face. It affects, so they have to react. And it's good that in their reaction in a way to help each other instead of to help each other. You know what I'm saying? You use that to help, not hate, because we are all we have. Our community.
And when you say that, when the fires started and people, like in Portland, we all started gathering our mutual aid resources to respond to the people that were losing their housing and their homes. But when you say our first instinct was to care and to show up for one another, there were still people that were like, we're going to go out here and hold up this street and make sure people aren't going to steal. Like, and that was the thing that tripped me out. I was like, wait a minute, y'all have organized militia throughout the state to protect burnt houses and burnt belongings and burnt communities that are rural. People aren't coming from Portland to go steal something from Woodburn, you know, in a burnt community where there's tragedy happening. Like, what makes certain groups of people, and I would say white supremacists, what makes them always respond with negativity and hate rather than support and all that? I was so worried because we partnered up with my friend Jason and Barack, who were, you know, fighters fighting fires igniting the spirit. And I was so worried because they were taking resources out to some unincorporated communities. And I was like, what if they're stopped by some of these militias while they're trying to take supplies out? What if these people misrepresent that the supplies they're taking are things that they feel are being looted from their communities? And why is hate so prevalent? And why don't we, you know, like, why is it unchecked? Like, they made it sound so usual and customary on the news even. And all I thought about was, if Black people created military militia style checkpoints, they would have sent the National Guard to get us. But they just, like, it was cordial. It was like, yes, they have some checkpoints, and, you know, Antifa might be burning, but we don't have any substantiated doubt. Like, you're literally fueling that fire of hate and division.
Like to do it. And they like to do it because that brings division. So they just like, because you have people that chime in and be like, once again, property is more important than people's lives. You know what I'm saying? And you're just like, this is what they want. And you're still falling for the same wording that they like to use, the undertones they like to use. They were protecting. How are you protecting? How are you protecting? What are you protecting? And then who gives you the right to protect anything? And then, like you said, if it was us, oh my God, National Guards would have been here like this. What did Kate Brown? What did she do? Come on in. Come on. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get sheriffs from here. I'm going to get police from here, because we have a problem. and
We have
tear
to make
gas.
sure everyone feels safe, that we're not stealing grandma's burnt up cushy couch from the 1980s that's still sitting in the house. Like, people, come on. Come
But
on.
that's the same thing when we were down there and protesting and everybody's saying the rioters are burning everything. But when the police testified, they said that they knew who were the rioters and they knew who were the protesters because they had them inside of the group.
See, and this is crazy. I was thinking about the fire response and how many people contacted us because they weren't safe in those same communities. How many people of color were like, I'm getting threats that they're going to come kill me. People are saying they're going to hurt me. Remember, we were talking about getting people that do open carry just to go out in areas to make sure that they were protected, but just the shame and all of that. And that never made the news, that people were getting death threats and being told to leave their neighborhoods and all this other stuff because now they, those people felt bold because there's a fire. Like the terrorism we face on a daily, and
Horrible. And then people still try to say, oh, that's not racism, and give it another name. That's not why. Let's give it another name to not sound so harsh.
The reason that we can say that is racism is because that's the only thing that is approved. You can't say, oh, you terrorizing those people. You got to say it's racist, because people really believe that their racism is protected, and which it is. We're in racist society on stolen land. It's protected.
And plus, sectors are racist and they run everything with money. And then when you bring out their truth, they try to kill you. They try to harm you. They try to shut you up, your family, anybody that has anything to do with the movement. It's so many moms and people have become targets just.
Yes. And people didn't know to expect that. I think people think that when you're an organizer or a community activist that you're going to expect to get the death threats and the calls and the COINTELPRO. People don't expect that because we're people. We're just showing up to show in solidarity with people. We don't think we're on that level with Dr. King or any of these other people, but think of the thousands of people that don't show up because they know what we find out later. I was just trying to go out there. I didn't know everybody in my family was going to stop talking to me. I didn't know my neighbors were going to start doing weird stuff to my home or threatening my kids or not allowing them to come in. I mean, the repercussions for showing up for Black lives in America in 2020 has been the gift for all of us, because if we want to stop being in denial, which, I mean, the election that's happening right now shows you we don't want to stop being in denial. Like, that's the truth. I mean, people literally are fighting for their white supremacy power. But that should be an alert to all of us to do better within our networks. Like, if you with it, stay with it. If you're not, move now so that we'll know how to move forward without you, because we really cannot go back. That's one thing we kept talking about in these earlier rallies, was that we're not going back. I don't know what people think, even with this election here locally with Ted Wheeler. People were like, somebody tagged me on Twitter and said, Teresa, why don't you get over the primaries? And I was like, excuse me? And it's like, yeah, there's so much work that you could actually be doing if you would just look forward and not be worried about what happened in the primaries. Like, they felt that that I literally couldn't get past not winning an election in Portland, where from the time I signed my name on the dotted line and got the signatures, I already knew that that was for my community to see me do it, but I never had any thought that Portlanders would elect a Black woman as mayor that's not vetted. They'll elect like a Joanne Hardesty as the mayor because that's the Negro, right? That's the person they've already picked. That's the person that if I say she got a ride home because maybe drinking, they'll say, oh, you talking mean about the lady? And I'm like, well, don't people usually take rides home and like leave casinos because maybe they drunk? That's not me knocking somebody down. If I wanted to knock people down, press calls me often to do that, but I never take that opportunity. But we still lose opportunities with gaining access in our own communities because of these type of gatekeepers. It's like, if we don't pit each other against them, and we don't get ferocious and violent in the way that we describe our relationships, then people don't trust us to have any kind of ability to do anything. I was talking to somebody the other day, they said something like, why don't y'all just get along? And I was like, do people say that to y'all? And do you know how inherently racist that is? That's like a field language. That's like, get them niggas to get along. We don't have to all get along. We're
We
all
don't.
actually people, and we have different choices and ideas and opinions, and all white people don't get along. It would
That's
be hard for me to tell somebody like George Bush or, why don't you get over your problems with Trump just because he's a white man? Like, don't trip. You guys need to kind of find some common ground. Or the
yeah.
Sarah stuff, like, why don't you just see if she can help you? I'm like, I'm supposed to.
And what
I
make
mean,
it
what do you think about all that? Like, you have to get rid of racism so that we can all be free stuff. Like, you Black woman, you get rid of it so we don't have to deal with it.
and see, this is the thing. So many people, white people and Black people, use that Black card. She's a Black woman, but she's a Black woman that has a white supremacist attitude, point blank. You just got through going, you were on Ted's team, then you was on Sarah's team, and now Sarah didn't win, you back on Ted's team. You still said that you wanted to take $18 million from the police like you did something, Captain Save-A-Hole, and then you didn't do nothing. You're not going to do anything with the community again. When we first started protesting, she was the one who put us on curfew at 5 o'clock. Are we all going to brush these little things up
Because
under?
we want to paternalize Black people, the same reason that Pastor Mondane, your ex-employer, was able to abuse people in our community and still be a prominent civil rights leader. The same way Pastor Hennessy can jump on PSEP calls and be the liaison or the moderator in between these conversations with the policing, community policing. We have someone in our community that is a participant in community policing, is supposed to be the liaison, but has also harmed people in our community. And if we don't work well with them, then guess what? We are the problem. And that is consistent. And I'm saying, when will it stop?
Right.
Like, when this movement happen? And I mean, with all the evidence that we saw at the beginning of COVID, when Ted showed up with the gatekeepers, and then when they started sending out the press and the opinion editorials about the damage and destruction to the buildings, not the fact that children in our community have been murdered and families were out there with allies and community members, like, all of it was posturing. And it seems that posturing brought community together enough to not only reelect him, but also to elect someone like Joe Biden when we had so many different people that were running for office. It's like all of the different elements of white supremacy play out on both sides, but never for the benefit of the people in the middle that are trying to liberate themselves.
And just like we was talking about before in the YouTubes, when I said Stacey Abrams, everybody's like, what? We can't just write her in. But now look at everybody. They're like, she's a queen. She's been doing. Yes, she has. That's why she was running. And that's why you should have voted.
They only want us when they need us. Yes. You gotta carry the whole country on your back to get respect in this country as a Black woman. You gotta carry them on your back, and then you gotta smile while you do it so that they can thank you. And as long as that happens, then you cool. Your back might be all the way broke. You probably can't breathe no more. You might not have nothing left by the end of the road, but as long as you handle your business and carry the load of white supremacy, then you winning. You winning, Black woman.
And that's that.
Now you done earned your keep again, another generation, and with no thanks.
And it's like, wow, we still doing the same thing, huh? Never giving a Black woman the credit, but you want her to hold everything on her back. But then you want to shine the light. All the time we do this. This is how we live. And now people are waking up saying, yes, this is what we do. 24/7, 365. Yes.
Ella Baker. Come on. Ida B. Wells. Come on. They've been doing it. They've said this. We've been here in this space, in this time. We're in 2020. And I bet you there's not a conversation you can have that don't sound like 1940.
That.
Or 1865.
And you just like, really? It's about
19.
We got a color.
We're still talking about massa in the system as if it has so much prevalence in our lives, because it actually does. You're still in the same hamster wheel.
2020.
And now where we go? 2021 on the way.
And they're saying it's going to be a change. It hasn't been any accountability. How it's going to be some change and there's no accountability and everybody wants let's just
we want peace with no reconciliation and no truth.
With no truth and
we should be happy Trump is gone. Let's go forward.
Let's go forward. Let's smile and say everything is going to be okay. Yay. No. And no. We got work to do. Now, bills need to be changed. We need to be heading to the Senate with everything that we need to get these bills changed.
All those registered voters to make sure that they showing up on networks so that they can share information over the next 4 years. Because one of the things I'm gonna say is that if we rode as hard as we did building the Black Lives Matter movement under Obama, it ain't ending under Biden. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not done. This is the beginning. People need to start recognizing that, or they need to start figuring it out, because we're not going back. Nobody feels consoled at this point.
No.
I'm still traumatized and terrorized. I don't know what's next.
We don't. We have no idea, because still they're saying our vote count, but still he's still running amok and doing what he want to do. And still we have no stimulus package, and still we are suffering, and still, period. And still.
The end of the American nightmare. It's the end of the American nightmare, because we're so transparent with what's been going on so long. Somebody was like, I just wish we could go back. And I was like, no, I'm glad for the evidence. We have it now. If we choose to go back, in our houses and be quiet and allow things to just calm down, then that's the foolishness. Now we are at the center of moving things forward. And so people need to be motivated in that direction. People need to start, like we said in the beginning of this rally, start organizing mutual aid in your community. Take those steps, connect to those people. I know when we were doing organizing calls after the feds showed up here and we knew they were gonna go to other parts of the country, getting people together with the mutual aid, I think that was, utilizing the protest to get people to come together to chime in and connect in that system intentionally. This time, this COVID time, while we're going to be locked in for the next couple of months through March, this is for that time to be used. All those connections, all those commitments, all that engagement, this is the time to go ahead and start putting that out there in your community. Start reorganizing. It didn't end in the summer. It's not over because it's getting darker early. The protests might be slowing down and they might be organizing more to support our unhoused communities, but that's no reason to not start building up assets in your own community. You don't have to respond just in downtown Portland or in your own neighborhood. You have to respond even online so that you can help organize people in other places. Because that is the essential work that we need right now in response to coronavirus and white supremacy. One of the first signs that we built was white supremacy as a pandemic. And when we built mutual aid BLM, that was part of the cure. Because we no longer had to need or to want for some of the basic essentials. So let's not get people back in that situation. Think about those elders in your community. Think about some of those children that have come through the foster care system that's out there raising their brothers and sisters. Think about, people in your community dealing with domestic violence and advocating for people. Start building those systems. Think about our queer community and what's happening right now with everything and how vulnerable we all are, but just, our whole mental state. One of the things that Don't Shoot is doing right now is that PDX Safer Space with Dr. Anita Randolph, one of our board members, building out that asset to kind of respond to how we're all feeling about COVID and Black Lives Matter and showing up. I know at first when they were building it, it was response directly for activists, but I was like, the activists are responding to the issues that are happening in our community. So we need that to move into our community. So become aware of the resources that you can provide for the emotional capacity, the mental capacity of people in your own communities, and just start engineering that to make it continue. Like, we have to do things so much to where it becomes a habit. And when we talk about mutual aid and showing up and doing the things that we've been doing to maintain through this pandemic and through the uprising, it's time to reflect on those values and start centering and building. Like, do that. If that's all you do this fall, it'll carry us, you know?
We need right now. That's exactly what we need. And people have to understand, you have to care about yourself and other people enough to come together and do what's right. You know what I'm saying? Empty out all of those white supremacy thinkings that you've been taught, all the white supremacists focus on you when we're a community. We want to work together, and us working together is what they don't want. They want us out here starving. They want us to be out here
They want to
stealing.
shoot you for toilet paper. They want to shoot you for toilet paper. I seen somebody in my neighborhood look like they needed something. We're not going to have those problems.
No,
We're not going to have those problems.
because we are our community and we unite. And that's what the world has seen about Portland, is that we have united, even though there's only 3% Black people here, and we have a problem. And people around the world know that we have a problem. So therefore, the United States is the problem.
The problem.
And so how can we move on, or how can we heal when we have that 9-inch knife in our backs and they're taking out 3 at a time, but then pushing it in one more every single time? And
You reduce the power. You reduce the power.
That. And it's just like, oh my God, I mean, how much more can we take for y'all to sit here and keep rewording white supremacy, for you to think that white supremacy is going to win? And our community is showing the world that uniting together and love is what's going to win.
I was going to ask, I don't know if Ty is still on the call, but I would like to find out if any people on YouTube have questions.
Okay.
So I just wanted them to put them in the chat if they do. Are there any questions on YouTube? I'm just texting her.
Okay.
Check
It's
it
crazy.
out right now.
Okay. Huh?
I'm checking out questions on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
I don't see any questions so far, but I'll give them a couple minutes.
All right. What kind of statements are on there? What are people saying on there or thinking? Oh, look.
Well, first, you know how I messed up the stream, so
Oh.
that was a little bit of a topic of discussion.
Well, we had a little birthday celebration that we didn't want to share with y'all, and so excuse us.
Oh, let me scroll through.
Private. Maybe it was supposed to be private. I'm excited about building forward. I'm so tired. I'm thankful for what I witnessed this summer as far as our coming together as a community. And the way we were able to mobilize and the way we were able to share that mobilization with different communities. Like, I've been super busy just responding to all the different small communities across the country. And even Ty doing, international meetings and interviews and Zooms to organize people around this work, because they're seeing the liberation happen in real time.
And they want.
Huh?
I said, and they definitely want to be a part of it because they know this is the revolution. It's people reaching out from everywhere saying this is part of the revolution. How can we connect and help and come together so we can get bills changed, so we can go to the Senate, so that we can make sure that we keep this and we keep this on fire. People are.
Because we want change. We're not happy. We're not just trying to get rid of Trump. We want social change. We want to dismantle the systems of white supremacy. I was going to say, just for a recap from the last time that we've done one of these rallies, what's some of the things that you've been involved in since May, when you prosecuted and convicted Jeremy Joseph Christian for 3 life sentences for the murder of our community members on the MAX train? What have you been up to since then?
Oh my God, with the Moms
For those
United.
that don't know.
The Moms United, which branched off from the Wall of Moms because of Bev trying to capitalize on our Black lives and capitalize on Black women, period. The thing that we're fighting ever since we had to initially just pluck all of the real Black Lives Matter moms that wanted to actually do what they wanted to do about Black Lives Matter, not pretend like she wanted to do. We have been going full throttle. We have community team, a kids team, a evac team, and we also have a protest team. So those teams break down and they do their own things. We have Meals on Wheels, where we do the Wheels on Meals and Black families warm baskets we give. Or right now, we're about to do Black leaders, moms, and adopt their families and make sure that they have everything they need and be comfortable. Because right now, it's a struggle just to maintain. We don't get paid. We do this because we have to do this. We're not even getting our unemployment. So it's
No,
just
none of us are. None of us are. And that's why I said doing this work and building essential communication and networks that sustains communities, and it gives you pride even when you're struggling, because you like, I know that I'm helping, I'm transferring resources that's coming to me, and even relationships that are coming to me to help substantiate needs in my community. And we shouldn't feel guilty about that. I saw somebody, because a lot of people started giving to Don't Shoot Portland, and that's why we spent so much money on those lawsuits, because it was like, well, shoot, this is coming directly from our community. And I wanted to make sure that we did it in the biggest way possible. I think our class action here in the city covered over 1,000 people. We had over 1,000 people that signed up through that. But I'm looking at that data, how people were able to connect with us and say, I was tear gassed, I was pepper sprayed, whatever it was, the quantifying of the data, the use of it for future, for changes, for policy, for everything. People don't realize how substantial that is. Like, we did a lot of work as a community action plan over the last 6 months. And looking and reflecting on that is important, because people should gain value. I mean, even if you can't go out there right now, like how Andrea's like, oh, I got to quarantine because of all the things that's been going on. Thank goodness you was out there. Whatever you seeded into this movement is powerful. We're watching it and multiply. Is multiplying just because we could.
Yeah.
Just because we could. Like, nobody stopped us. We didn't have to sit back and build a blueprint and say how we're going to do it. Literally, that's substantial. I think people should be very proud of themselves. I think especially our children, the fact that they're able to liberate their own consciousness to show people. And the 46,000 write-in votes, girl.
Wow. And it was all, and
I'm like, y'all better use that power. That is autonomy. That's like our own little Chad community. You know what I'm saying? That's big. They better use it. That ain't even mine.
Big. We finna already, we finna get ready and start the recall and the special election. We not this to tell me that you think Ted Wheeler won. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Mr. I want to be Donald Trump. Get the fuck out of here. Tear gas Trump, tear gas Ted. And you mean to tell me you think you won? Not today, Satan. It's not over. It's not over. They think
like that's the biggest trap.
Right. That's full fuckery. You mean to tell me you spent $150,000 on your own campaign? Wait, what? And then you got the nerve to say you won? Yeah, bitch, quit. Stop. Go sit down. And then, like we were talking about earlier, look at all of the Black leaders that was riding Sarah. And all of a sudden now they want to, can we play again with y'all because we thought that she was going to win and she didn't win.
But it's funny because let me go to that. None of those people ever, none of the whole time that I've been out here, not in protest, not in community organizing, not in advocating for families or children, have they ever stepped up to say, I can help?
I know.
How can I support you? Never. So
Yeah.
when I watched all of the propaganda, like from Ted's side, which ones he had on his side, and then Sarah's side, which ones went to her, I was like, if anybody ever asks us again who the gatekeepers are, look, you have a freaking grid at this point. Deplatform them, please.
Right there.
Deplatform them. They have harmed our communities. They
Period.
don't show up for our communities. They show up for opportunities. They show up for jobs. They show up for jobs. They show up for promises. When Ted had his first couple of conferences and he brought the community out and they said, well, he said he was going to give us something. And then later on, they were writing opinion editorials for him and doing all the other stuff. That's a hustle. Do you mean that even in a time of crisis, our bodies are still on the table to be negotiated for resources? We can't just do the right thing for each other. And you talking about we should all get along, please. White supremacists should not even be a part of our society at this point. We need to marginalize them the same way Black people have been marginalized in America. Oh.
Period.
I'm just saying, like, dang, come on.
But no one wants to call that out. Everybody just want to say that, oh, they had a difference of opinion. They had the same opinion.
The biggest difference of opinion, when I hear people say, well, why don't people get along with Teresa? And she would make a good leader if she could learn how to get along with people. What makes you think I'm not getting along with people? Who are the people that are telling you that we have issues with them? Have I ever voiced that I have an issue with this person? Does this person actually know me personally, or do you just clump all Black people into the same network? Because I don't know a lot of them. I might know their names or their social media networks. We might follow each other. And in cases like with Gregory McKelvey, where somebody said, oh, you mean you don't know him, but I got a picture of you standing next to him while you're drinking coffee. I'm like, yeah, and look at him. He remembered everything I told him to say. And I was so amazed that he was able to say that straight sentence while he was drunk. Yeah, on several occasions. Like, come on. Like, I don't have to know him, but I bet you at the time when he was finessing his way at our organized events, that was when I had that 7-pound tumor in my stomach. I was begging anybody to speak on the mic on behalf of our community. I don't dismay. I don't tell people not to show up to protest or not to speak or not to use the platform, but don't use me as a weapon to entitle yourself to more than what you worked for. Don't say I know Teresa or Teresa has mentored me or something like that, because when you're using me as a weapon to have a conversation with someone else, I think that's where the issues come, where someone's like, oh, she's the da-da-da-da because I picked a side, or I'm not even knowledgeable about relationships that I'm supposed to be a partner with, or whatever. Maybe some people just don't want to, face the audits that I've demanded while I protested because they've been a part of the problem. But people really need to be mindful that the paternalization of Black people in this country has been the biggest engineering piece of white supremacy that has harmed us for the longest amount of time. And when you see how important it is in politics to have those levels of white supremacy agreement, authorization, approval, in order to win an election or get an endorsement or get people to think that you're valuable or qualified, we have to identify those tools and not use them anymore. We need to disqualify those tools. That's why I love the write-in campaign, because that was 46,000 autonomous people that were saying, vote for me, vote for engagement with our community. We don't see those people as valuable, and we don't see the people endorsing them as valuable components of our community. We actually might not even know who these people are. Look, we're not following the status quo. Follow the people. I think that to me is one of the biggest bridges to getting somewhere when we talk about social change. Is like getting rid of those elements that don't work for us and seeing people as intrinsic beings, not monolithic groups that you have to have paternalization over. That's violent because people take it away too. They say, well, I tried to help you. I've seen it all since the campaign. I supported Don't Shoot Portland for years, and I can't believe you ran against Sarah. And I'm like, I was in the primaries. She ran against me. Where did I do the problem? Did I do something wrong?
It's always that way, though. With Black people, we always have to prove that we haven't did anything, but yet her campaign, her campaign manager, whoever's on her team everybody was filed.
I got discredited just because of relation. Well, we know Tristan. We don't trust her. We trust Sarah. And that right there was it. I don't even know you. I never, I could never even count on you. But now all of a sudden your word in a sentence can discredit what I need to do or support in my community. And not that there's any competition, but just that the humiliation of being dehumanized that way by somebody you really don't know and literally never grew up in Portland where you're at in your community for those same children. I love that the children uprose. I love it. I think it was the most beautiful thing ever. I'm happy I didn't have to participate, but I felt guilty about not participating. And I still feel guilty because I'm thankful it's over. I'm so happy it's over. I'm like, thank you.
Because it's a lot. It's a lot. Those children did so much. Danny Cage is so sweet, and he's helping us with the recall and special election. If those kids could vote, I'm telling you, we would have been like do a landslide, which we are going to do a landslide anyway. Because what's crazy is that has all the votes been counted?
I don't know. Y'all Trump. Let it go. Let's just I don't know. I'm tired. I'm very tired. I'm proud of our community. I think that no matter who the mayor is, that we are changed, and that the changes that we see in each other and the work that we've been able to accomplish, I think that that's going to move us forward. I don't think that any promises from any elected official or any resources that the federal government brings into the city is as valuable as the resource we have in each other.
Yes,
and to see it, I'm here for that, because that is the beauty. That is the thing that our babies get to inherit. That's the thing that they get to use to motivate reconstruction for their future.
And that's what we need right now, because our future is our that's our light. So we got to feed our future good food and good water. You know what I'm saying? For them to be productive. And that's what we want. Our grandkids, our kids to not to have to worry about anything. And it's a beautiful thing. And we're going to see it happen because the reparations is coming and we part of this revolution. We are not stopping. And that's something else that we've been talking about the whole time. And now everybody's like, yeah, we need reparations. Yes, that's the only way we're going to heal. Let our brothers and sisters out and give them reparations for you encaging them in their brains, their minds, the way they think. You have people that grew up in the system, don't even know how to live and be a human being because they've been dehumanized in the system so many ways that you have to deprogram them when they come out. But how can they enforce some mental health? That's why it's so good that we are providing all these things for our community, because this is what we need in order to build our community to where we want it to be at, not to be damaged and walking around and hating ourselves, that we're not wanting the best for ourselves, because we have to want the best for ourselves before anything.
And I was going to say, like, I think it was maybe July, right before we had our Indigenous Day of Rage, right? I remember meeting and seeing so many different people of color that were in our community from so many different backgrounds and things. And I was, people were happy. We were happy. We were happy. We were free. We still were halfway in COVID pandemic quarantine, but people felt liberated to even just be able to go places without being like monitored and surveyed. And it wasn't heavy. And since we were taking care of each other, we didn't really have to want, like we want for stuff, but we were free in our want because we could count on each other. I saw that. I felt that love all the way up until maybe, I think maybe the end of August. It was real, like a very serious golden love light on us and bringing people together. And then it kind of got smeared and, fractured. And there's some other stuff that's going on right now, but I hope we can get back to that point where everybody was like, I feel safer now. Look at all this art out here. Like, people were engineered. They felt safe in their communities because they saw Black Lives Matter on buildings and signs and grounds. And, even if they weren't Black, they was feeling safe because they was like, well, shoot, if the Black people ain't being hunted no more, that means they're not going to be hunting me because we already know where it come from,
Yeah, we already know. now they know. And that's why they're not going.
Because we felt it and we had to deal with it because of COVID. And that's something. It took the pandemic.
They can't do nothing about it because it's right there in their face. They can't look away. They can't go nowhere. They have to deal with the problems at hand. That's why we're not going back to sleep and we're staying woke. That's why so many people are for this, is because it's needed. It has to happen in order for this revolution to happen. So more people are just like every single time it's more people woke. Just like when you ran, they wasn't woke. So what happened? The COVID.
All ran.
And then, yes, and then so everybody woke up and said, "Oh my God, look at Ted Wheeler, he's horrible." And then now the 45 is woke. It's finna be another, and everybody's finna be woke, and you finna be mayor because of what is going on. It's there. What is going on? When people see it in front of them folded out, they have no way to avoid it. Everybody was tuning in. They've seen what this man has done this summer and still doing. Everybody is
evidence is there. And he benefits so hardcore off of all of our work. I mean, if nobody understands what we're talking about when we talk about how now since Joe Biden has been elected, how all the people we've been protesting are going to benefit from all of our work. And I'm talking about the Democratic Party and all the status quo. Ted Wheeler showed you. He gave you the whole preview. He came out there after tear gassing people for 100 days, got a little bit in his face, and across the country, people were like, wow, your mayor is amazing. Did you see your mayor? He went out there with the protests. I mean, he knows how to connect and protect and provide the narrative that is necessary to uphold the white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? He knows the game. You think they don't know?
Yeah.
You think they don't know? You think that they don't rely on all the elements of what's going on? That's why I hang out with archivists and historians, because I'm doing that research ahead of time and using what I learned to kind of re-communicate to our communities so they don't know what we're talking about. A lot of times when we talk on social media, a lot of people would say, Tressa, get in here and organize, I don't organize on social media anymore because I don't like free consulting for these people that's gonna steal from us. And that's why I said it's so important to make those spaces in your own networks so that you can substantiate everything. Because if you're looking for the movement to be the infrastructure for building out what needs to be done, then that means we're waiting for somebody else to die and for it to be worth all of us showing up. And it's always worth all of us showing up, but why do we have to wait for somebody to die?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let's not wait for the next person to die. Let's start being proactive in our communities. You saw what happened to that little 15-year-old baby out there in Louisiana,
Crazy. And everybody's sitting up there brushing it off like it's nothing.
It's terrorizing. And even for us to want to protest, it's such a terrifying situation. People don't realize a protest ain't like throwing a party where you just say, okay, let's put the date and time. Your mind and your heart and the energy involved in communicating the injustice, that matters. Otherwise, it ain't real. And the fact that people aren't able to respond is because it hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts so bad. To even think about it, to see that baby's face.
Just innocent. Just, oh my God. And for y'all to
say his name.
Man, just innocent children just dying every day. And people are seriously saying, well, there has to be a justified reason. And for that to be our narrative all the time is sickening. It makes you want to throw up.
Why didn't he do what he was supposed to do? Why didn't somebody, it's always a why if or if what. Why aren't we that outraged when this happens? Why don't we say, why would they do that? Why is that allowed? Why is it legal?
Why is that legal for them to kill a child and get away with it? And you have to protest for the child family to get justice, and they still don't get it. Because
I remember I told somebody that our protests were memorials.
Yes.
And I don't think they understood what that meant. That's why, like, even in the summer, I mean, some of the things that were happening, I couldn't really connect with because I'm in memorial mode constantly. I'm always in trauma mode because of the advocacy we do. And I never want somebody who's in mourning to see me in celebration while they're still hurting and they count on me. Um, and it's kind of like in Louisiana, we have Mardi Gras and we celebrate the dead like Day of Dead. And that's how we celebrate. But when others come in, when the allies come in, when the comrades come in, when people come in to support us, it's not to center yourself or the needs you have in order to center yourself with us. And when that happens, it makes it complicated for us to be able to come together because we have to engineer space for y'all to be involved because we know y'all not gonna fuck with us if we just in pain.
Right.
We gotta accommodate your angle, and that's the part that's not okay.
Okay.
If y'all that outraged, you get outraged before we get outraged. Don't let us manage the proprietary nature of building the movement for the outrage. You do that shit like they do on TikTok when we was in quarantine and everybody was building their own movements and their own networks and had people listening and tuning in. And then we could say, build it where it needs to be, but don't wait on us to put our trauma forward so that you can help manage that for us, because it doesn't work that way. We all humans. Be outraged and be okay with being outraged. Do something about the outrage. Make it work. Document it. Write an opinion editorial. I'm always asking people to document their thoughts and their feelings about something. And a lot of times they'll say, well, what do you want me to know? I want you to show us your perception, because people need to connect to the humanity that becomes part of being involved, but do something, because we're not done. We just got Trump as a president.
Out as a president.
Girl, oh God, because the fool talking about he's not going to concede. So, I'm mixed up. They say second Trump administration. But we just got him out of the presidency through these votes. And it wasn't easy, obviously, because people were voting overwhelmingly for white supremacy. Even people that didn't vote for him before voted overwhelmingly to keep him in office. People were voting for Biden, but they voted against all of the other candidates that we had there. So there was never any particular movement to get him out. If you ask me, if there was a movement to get him out, I didn't see that happening. I think that the movement for Black Lives got us votes, but I didn't see a big movement to remove this fool. And so moving forward,
remove this fool.
So moving forward, people need to realize that Black America has witnessed white supremacy, and we know that our neighbors are the white supremacists. We know that our friends and our allies and our comrades are still practicing openly white supremacy and are protecting those assets. So there's a lot of work they gotta do.
Right.
Because as we develop and build our mutual aid in our communities, there's going to be less reliance on the system. And the Democrats are not going to be able to rely on any community organizers I know throughout the country. We're not fucking with them. We're not supporting them. We don't feel like we have to empower them in any way because they've not shown up for us. I didn't see the Democratic Party in Portland showing up for me during the mayoral campaign. And so if y'all witnessed how they let us be out there by ourselves and just, that's what we got now, except for now they're going to have money. And so they're not going to show up for us. Know that, and don't rely on it. Keep acting like Trump is in the White House if you want to keep resisting white supremacy. Act like it's still there, because it absolutely is. Now we can be prosecuted by our vice president for saying that it's a problem. And we got crime bill money, Joe, basically getting ready to, tell a generation of children whose parents have been locked up their entire lives that he's about to make their futures better. And that's just not the reality here. The reality of the situation is that the empowerment and the social change we're seeking is going to come from us. Continuing advocacy, continuing community education, community access to legal support, being, very visible, even if you're just sending emails to state leaders and local leaders, making your demands happen on the record, participating in some level at all, even if you got to create a whole nother email or social media just so that you'll have a platform to be engaged, stay engaged. The 2020 election is not the end of our liberation, our movement for liberation is the beginning of the next 4 years of moving for liberation and this movement work. We're going to give Joe Biden as hard of a time as we did President Obama. I don't think that Trump cared too much about anything that we had going on, but we have a lot of evidence that we didn't have before that we need to be utilizing to hold these people accountable and to change the way that America is run. I was telling somebody, I think it was my daughter the other day, I was like, we already know the American dream is a nightmare, right?
Right.
You know what? Let's dismantle it all and smash the nightmare.
That's right. That's
Let's
right.
dismantle it all and smash this damn nightmare because it's over. We're not
It's
going
over.
back.
We're not going back. It's over. They had their little time, but no, it's over. These people are very, very, very focused and woke on what is really going on, because therefore white supremacy is everywhere and it's allowed, and everybody is witnessing. They're witnesses. Everybody is a witness of it, and they're shocked at first, and then they're like, oh my God, we got to change this, because this is white supremacists. How you Proud Boys, chuds, however you try to,
The chuds.
all of that, it's white supremacy. Everything about undermining people is white supremacist. So you think that the people not finna make an uproar about it? Yes, because you're undermining us. You're making it seem like you know more than we know, and we the one that's taking care of us. But you're getting all the money for it, and you think the money matters. The money doesn't matter when you have unity and you have family. And that's what we become, is family, because you can call and I need
Look,
this.
they can have the money and the resources, but if we don't trust them, we're not going to them for the services. You know how many organizations have told me, can we partner with Don't Shoot? Because when we partner with this organization or that organization, no one showed up. And I said, because they don't trust them anymore. They partner with people that harm their families. And we don't ask questions, we just support. And that's the difference. And then the thing is that we don't want to work with y'all. We work with the community, but we're not even willing to work with y'all to work with the community, because the community needs to have, access without any kind of quantification of why they're there. We need to stop hustling on people's poverty and, oppression.
Period. Because that's what they've been hustling on the whole time, all the data they need so that they can get all this money and not even give it back to the community.
Hey, I was going to say, so somebody asked the question. So one question was for activists Red from past rallies, if they have social media. I'm not going to out their social medias, but they do have social media. And if you know them personally, maybe you can find them on there, but I'm not going to put that out here. If they were here, I'd let them do that. The second question is, when the Democratic representatives do not show up again and it's time to vote again and we are feeling trapped for two old men, how do we break that cycle? And then it says voting. And I don't know, I guess that's a statement question, but prepare for it. Like when Ted Wheeler, when Quantas Hayes got murdered and those people on the MAX train got murdered, and I reflected back to the collective bargaining agreement from 2016 when he was our mayor-elect, and I realized that he never showed up with us when we knew it was in draft form, and that all those things, Qantas's murder, the murders of the MAX train, the people that were dying unhoused the first couple of months of his administration, first 90 days, I think it was, all those things had to do with things in that contract that needed to have a level of engagement with community. And we didn't wait for him to get elected to have, a interest or to make demands to participate in that collective bargaining agreement. But he ignored us. He never came back to say, hey, what do y'all want to do? Even when they were doing that and his office contacted us, he never showed up for us. Don't expect them to show up ever. Don't expect the next Democratic representative to show up or to not show up, because even when they do show up, it's for a photo op. It's to say, I've met with these people. It's to say that they've done it and to check it off. If they had a keen interest, if they had a real interest, one of the things I kept saying to national media was that none of those people they were interviewing across the country, none of our leaders had ever even reached out to us with Don't Shoot Portland. My organization started 10 years ago when my nephew was murdered. I've been to the state capitol. I've been to Multnomah County. I've been to the city. We've been to Washington, D.C., all over the place, helping hundreds of people, registering tens of thousands of voters over the last 10 years. I'm going back and forth to state, putting testimony on the record. Not one time. I've seen like Jeff Merkley at Alyssa's house for dinner a couple of years ago. I've seen Senator Wyden when we shut down his town hall at PCC. I've seen Kate, even when we sat on a platform for Unite Women when I was the state director over Unite Women to bring women together. None of them ever said, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's have coffee. Even when they seen national media interviewing us about the uprisings here in Portland, never have they said, let's talk to y'all about what we can do to help you. And they've gotten my vote every single damn time. Every time I've given them my vote. I've even told my mama to vote for them. And community to vote for them. And I know I have at least 46,000, 45,000 people that pay attention to what I'm doing. And I've been pulling them to help support these people. Not because I'm afraid of what the Republican Party might do to us, because for me, it's all the same.
It is.
Because I want the interest of engagement to happen. But we don't have to push for interests that are against our own values. Like, we don't have to continue doing that. And I won't be doing that anymore. I'm hoping that the work that was done through the write-in campaign, that makes those elected leaders that are in very powerful positions realize they have to come to y'all to identify who's going to be the next leader that they assist in appointing to be elected. Like when they start looking for somebody to be the next senator in my district, or the next House representative in Northeast Portland, or the next District 2 commissioner in Multnomah County, they need to be connecting with the activists and the protesters, and people that are sitting on the sidelines and people that call themselves comrades and allies need to hold them accountable to that.
Right. Period.
To that. When I was running for the primary, one of my supporters, James Schwartz, had reached out to Alyssa Kiney-Guyver. And I was like, oh yeah, I know her, but she would never support me. He was like, no, I support her a lot. She'll support me. And I had already reached out to people. I didn't think they would support me. This person said, yeah, I don't have time right now, I'm busy. But then I was sitting on a house party list for someone else that was running with this person. And I'm like, wow, you had no time to even contact me to say that people that supported me and you wanted you to support me. But now I'm seeing that you do actually have the time for things that are important to you. Yeah. And obviously all my votes for the last 10 years have not been that important to you. And the issues in my community that I've stood up for are not important to you. And I don't mind calling people out by name. They don't give a fuck about us. I don't care who they are. I've witnessed it. We've all witnessed it. I keep shit on the record.
Yeah.
Vote them out. Vote them out. Don't never vote for them again. If they don't show any interest in connecting with unvetted protesters, not the Urban League Black people, not the NAACP Black people, not Joanne Hardesty, y'all nigga, but the general fucking public. If y'all don't fuck with us, we don't fuck with you. Period. And we're not going back. So it ain't gonna get better. Period.
At all.
Don't fuck with them. Get them out of power. Send them home. They've supported rapists. They've supported racists. They've supported so many people that have harmed us. Those underlying, let it go. We don't have to hold on to white supremacy for fear of white supremacy. We have it. And we all witnessed it. And we know what it feels like. It stinks. It's no good. Let it go.
Please, right now.
That makes any sense. Look, I'm like, that makes sense.
It does make sense because we need to move forward. And the more that people are stuck at this barrier, we can't move forward. We have more things that we need to accomplish. Move forward. This is a hurdle. Move over the hurdle. Yes, it's white supremacy. Let's get down and crush this shit down.
Yeah.
Let's burn it.
Yeah, call it out. I would say one of the most valuable tools for calling shit out is social media. Tag them.
Yes.
Tag them. If you decide to record any part of this, tag Alyssa when I'm calling her out and say, hey, why didn't you show up for Teresa Rayford? Did you not even think that maybe you could have a conversation with her? She ran 3 times. People are making it sound like when I ran 3 times, that was a problem. No, I did that for y'all. I didn't need to win. I just need you see that it was that we could do it. And we need to do it on the record so that when somebody that is qualified and ready to do the work can get in there.
Yeah.
So that it's not a barrier of, oh, we're not used to seeing a Black person run for this seat in a competent way, so that it is okay, so that there's less of an issue for you. I don't need anything out of this movement except for to stay alive until I can see that our babies have picked it up, and I witnessed that. I'm good.
Yeah, period. Because we don't want our next generation growing up thinking that they can't even walk down the street. They don't have a voice. They can't say anything. They can't do anything because they're scared of white supremacy that's been uprooted in this country for how many years?
Oh no, we've been balancing on that shit for a while. Don't let that be the reason.
Right. All of
Don't let
that.
that be the reason.
We finna change all of that. You think that we want all this to happen? That's why we still fighting. That's why we mobilizing. That's why we have mutual aid. That's why we connecting. That's why
That's why we got legal support.
that part, so we can sue. A small claims court, they know me by name. Let's go ahead. Sue, because Smalls can't claims court. Let's do that, because you can judges, you can sue everybody. What you gonna say? I have proof. Here's the receipts.
Here's my receipts.
Police. Here's the receipts from the police. Yes, here's the receipts from the lawyer telling me what. Yes, here you go. Here's that receipt. Here's this receipt. Defund the police. You think all these protesters over, this whole summer got a lawsuit because of y'all giving them some help with lawyers, and they think we're not gonna get defund
They never
them?
even spoke up against the violence that was happening to the community. When we talk about the Democratic leaders, I don't remember one speaking up and saying, why are you assaulting people during a global pandemic? Why are we tear gassing our community members during a global crisis? Why are we harming people that are saying, stop killing us? Why are we assaulting and battering Portlanders and their children? Like, I didn't see that. I saw a couple of people try to co-opt it and create branding opportunities for their own benefit, but I didn't see people showing up to support the protests. And I think that the protests happening is what helped us get rid of Donald Trump. I think that had we not had global mobilization for the benefit of supporting and centering Black lives, that people wouldn't have been bold enough to see any different on the horizon. I don't think that people would have been mobilized enough to feel like they had to vote. I think that Trump realized that, let's say that George Floyd had never died, Trump would be the president.
Yep.
He would be the president.
Yep.
He would be the president. The joke was on us. We thought for 4 years that people could not stand him. And he would have been the president had we not had a global uprising because of George Floyd's murder. Ain't
exactly.
that
You is exactly right.
You lie when you say that you show up for us and that Black Lives Matter and that America has a civil liberties and that we care about people and that it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him. He's one person. We had over 70 million people fighting for him. For him.
Let's repeat that
you
number.
Still have people in our communities
voting for Ted. We still have people in the community voting for Sarah. This is the problem. This is where we have problems.
We know y'all lie when you say Black Lives Matter. We know it's a lie because we live in America and nothing has changed.
Nothing.
Since 1619 to today, we've had abolition movements. We've had anti-slavery movements. We have this anti-racist movement that does not include anti-Blackness. That does not include anti-Blackness, which to me is a severe indicator that we're not moving forward, that we are treating the truth to another generation. Let's say that you're anti-racist, but you're not anti-Black. Do you know that the anti-Blackness that's happening to us is going to happen to you because you're choosing a side? You're saying anything but Black. That's how they used poor white people against enslaved people.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing right now with our indigenous communities and our communities of color and our queer communities. They're saying, you know what, them Black people is bigots. They this and that. Anything that they can say about us, we know that it was centered through white supremacy and their violence. They made it illegal for us to love who we wanted to love and be who we want to be in society. It was illegal to read a book. You could be killed for that.
Reading.
Your children were alligator bait. We hung on trees. We have songs about it for generations. It's the entire economic franchise of America is built on the backs of these people on this land that we stole. And you think we're going to sit up there and negotiate with these terrorists? Please. I'm just saying, if we want better, we have to do better. And if we center one another in the commitment that we have to building infrastructure within our communities to support each other and to rely on one another, that's how you win. You don't elect somebody to get out of this bullshit, because the system that we're using to elect them is part of the problem. I'm not mad that I'm not the mayor. Fuck that seat. Everybody knows I wanted to go in there to dismantle it, and they worked like hell to stop it. And the people that worked to keep it there on both sides, the people that voted for Sarah, they're not anti-racist. They're not anti-fascist. They wanted to uphold the status quo. That's why they fought for her. That's why they never said, why didn't you talk to Teresa before you got in through the primaries? The people that voted for Ted, they feel safe under Massa's rule. They feel like safety is happening in Massa's house. They don't trust Harriet Tubman and them other Negroes to help them get satisfied and food and safety. They need the safety of the procurement of the household, all white supremacy tools. If we want better, we can do better. Stop feeling safe under the rule of white supremacy.
Stop it.
Feel discomforted and be okay with it. I'm unbothered. I'm thankful I'm not in that seat. I don't know what I would have did. I do, but I do know. And I hope somebody does it. I know Ted never will, because he benefits. His grandkids is going to benefit from the white supremacy that he's inherited. And we all know that. And we all invested in it with our votes this past time. We invested in it with our time that we allowed him to win again, just like Trump. Like we have the evidence. When we start paying attention to it, that's when we'll make change.
Right. And wake up and then start moving, because people still stuck on, ooh, I want to celebrate. We have a change. You are the change. You are the
change. Every single day of your life, you're the change.
You are the change. Every single day you wake up, you are the change, because your voice matters. Your power matters, period. And that's what they want to silence. That's what they want us to do, is say, well, I don't have a voice by myself, but all of us together, we have a voice. They don't want brown and black people to be together so that we, indigenous people, so that everybody that's different that wants to unite has did it. Look at all the different communities that's come together and helped each other when it was in need. When they did this to us for the whole summer, look at what they did for us the whole summer. Bombed everybody's house. Then after they did that, here come the fires, which were gone just rapidly because of the fumes and because of what happened this summer. All of this needed to happen for people to wake up.
Because we got to see and witness our own power of community. We got to see our own power. Like when they didn't show up, we showed up for one another.
And it was beautiful. And people were helping people. And that's what broke the community's whole aspect of what they thinking is we don't stick together. That broke that dilemma. When all the world saw that everybody came together and they was helping each other, pulling people away. It was the dads out there, it was the vets out there. It was people who said, this is wrong. What are you doing?
We had Andrew out there communicating to people. I was so happy to see Black deaf people out there on the front line protesting with signs.
Yes.
I was so happy to see our community pulling together and recognizing and seeing each other and being together on the front line.
The front line.
Not having a barrier to access. Philip Wolf just put a statement in and just said they wanted to discuss ableism and accessibility to protest and safely while exercising First Amendment right is important. And I wanted to say, like, one of the things that I've recognized is that it ain't even safe for, you know, the Black people to be out there. Nobody that has the power of the dynamic of building movement or organizing, let's say that we all fall into an infrastructure that exists, but no one ever made an infrastructure that exists for all of us. The infrastructure that exists for mobilizing and organizing is white cis man, and then they'll bring in like everybody else to incorporate what that looks like to sustain it. But it's never built to exist for the people that are saying that I have been oppressed, I have been discriminated against, I have been left behind. It's never been built so that we can easily mobilize. And what I've been witnessing, and I would say over the last abolition, let's say abolish ICE, since even before abolish ICE, for us, building inclusion comes first. Like, let's say that we wouldn't have been able to get fingers crossed on here. And even though it was the last minute, we wouldn't have had the program. We would have recorded it and then we would have waited to translate it. And then it probably would have never got captioned and nobody would ever see it. And we got a gang of videos like that. You know what I'm saying? Information that needs to be shared. But if we can't include everybody, it's not necessary yet. We're not ready yet. We're not even able to organize within our own community. So what are we organizing? What is the benefit if we're not all together on the same page? What is the safety net plan for planning to leave people behind? Planning to leave people behind because you don't build in accessibility for them. You got people begging to be able to be a part of public meetings and conversations and being pushed to the side like, oh yeah, we don't have time for that. Sign up weeks in advance. I don't know weeks in advance that you're gonna kill this kid outside and then my community is gonna ask me to show up. So you telling me not to show up? How do we move that forward? We actually, literally looks like we have to sue the city in order to have access. But we talk about civil liberties, freedom, progress. What do you think?
2020. We in 2020. We still saying the same exact thing from 19.
It has to be access first. If you keeping people out, those need to be the first people that you put to the front. And not because you feel pity for them, but because they need to be heard the most.
The most.
And
it's valid.
Whatever has been kept silent is the most important thing for us to hear, because we can listen to each other all fucking day. But until you hear what you haven't recognized, then the component of the information that you're sharing isn't substantial enough to do anything with.
Point blank.
You know, we ain't nothing unless we together. So let's make it that way. I mean, 2021.
Wow.
21. How do we make our events more inclusive? How do we make them more accessible? How do we, you know, even when we don't have the resources that everybody else has, how do we build our mutual aid to be on focus for all communities? And it's funny because the Black Lives Matter movement has done more than most of any of these well-funded movements to include all of us.
All of us.
And really, because when they shoot at our kids, they don't all die. And we still want them on the front line, because even if they're in the wheelchair, or if they only have one eye, or, you know, whatever the injury is, even if it's the emotional injury of PTSD, like some of my babies with autism that used to protest with us back in the day and can't now, whatever the issue is, put it on the front intentionally. If we build that way, like we talked earlier in this meeting about building something out of habit to the point where it becomes usual and customary, it'll become usual and customary. Right now, as we mobilize mutual aid, let's not forget and let's put it on the front and center, because even if it takes those with the less to do the most, make it substantial, because they look at what we do in order to make things happen. We make it the standard, they'll make it the standard. And when I say they, I'm talking about the status quo. We make it the standard to be fully inclusive and accessible. Guess what? They have no choice because the
Period.
burden is on them to be on point. And that's a shame that those with less have to do more. But guess what? Let's do it because we able. We can. We don't have a choice.
At all. We have to make sure that we on point all the time, because they act like, you know, that they can shake us or break us, and we in it for the long haul. We ain't going nowhere.
When the protests first started happening and they were doing the tear gas, and I couldn't breathe because I live downtown, and I felt that coming in there, and my face was swelling up and my body was swelling up and I couldn't breathe. My head was hurting and I couldn't sleep and all that. All I kept thinking about was like, I just want to go down there because there was stuff I wanted to tell the protesters that if they said it on the media or if they said it to each other, I thought it could help fast track what they was doing. But there was no way I could even think about going down there, between not being able to breathe and people wanting to threaten my life because I had ran for office and they knew, you know, like that stuff. I could not get into the movement. I couldn't participate. There wasn't no way for me to be a participant. And so I know how that feels to not be able to be there and to know that what you got to offer matters, that it can help people, you know? We ain't
Right.
never gonna be there again. That's why I started doing the work I was doing. I was like, oh, we're gonna sue these motherfuckers in.
Right.
We're not gonna hurt nobody that's out there. And let's go ahead and mobilize our social media and let's go ahead and build up mutual aid. I'll do what I'm able to do from where I'm at, but you're not gonna stop me from being involved.
Right.
And I got people saying, well, you haven't physically been down there and I'm not able to. Now what? You
That
know,
part.
I have an invisible disability. I have severe depression. I have PTSD. I got bad situations with asthma. I can't breathe. I mean, come on. You're gonna knock me down and use
Yes.
that as another way to humiliate.
And
That's how
what
you work that, you know? Nah, we're not going there.
we not at all, and we don't work like that. And that's what they mad at, is that we build each other up. We
Yeah.
don't tear each other down. We build each other up, and that's what they
need
mad at.
everybody that's in the movement to have a voice in this shit.
Yes, because we gonna say, and that's what they want to silence us. And it's like you have to fight so hard, and you have to fight so hard, and it's just like, I can't stop fighting so hard, because if I stop fighting, I don't think my voice is gonna get heard. So let me keep fighting, because it needs to be heard.
Yeah,
Period.
it's to the point where we start even fighting each other because we're going through trauma. I don't know how people sit back and watch this stuff like it's entertainment, but it's real trauma. It's serious trauma. I'm sorry. I'm like, oh.
Get up and wake up and deal with your internal traumatizing that's happened from what happened to you, plus what's happening to you expressing your right to express your right. So it's just
seeing people, like when I was watching, like, and this is the first time we've been able to talk about all this, but when I was watching what was happening to people in our community in real time. Oh my God.
Real time.
Like
People
those are horrors that I'll never, I don't even think the people that it was happening to realized the horror of what was happening to them and how that was seen, how we witnessed that. That's why the whole world was like, we with Portland, because they watched people go through that, you know, and they know that they was outnumbered. They know that little handful of people showing up for Black Lives wasn't the whole city of Portland.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We know that the whole city was against us and that handful got us.
Yeah.
And that people want to humiliate them because they showed up for us. You know, that was the reality of the situation. That's why it hurts me, because I'm like, damn, it ain't even fair that nobody in this generation should have to fight. But they are. And they go fighting, and just fight together, but don't fight each other.
Right.
Because you got, really. And you might not always get along, but you need each other to get this shit done.
Yes. And even witnessing and being in that trauma, it doesn't settle down until like you go home. And you settle down, and you have to accept the fact of what your body went through, what you went through mentally, what's going to keep happening. And it's hard. And I had to tell the moms, you need to have self-care, period. Because if you don't have self-care and realize that this is what's going to happen to you, it can break you. That's why you have to realize that this is the way it is, period. You can't be thinking that you're going to come down here and be the white savior and think that, oh, I'm going to come down here and that what I say and what I do is going to change everybody's mind. You got to know that you're a target right now. Your family's a target. You will get doxxed. I mean, so things that could happen to you.
Ready for it.
Ready for it.
Be ready for it.
And most people are not ready for it because they've never been through it before. You know, on some levels they have, but they've never been hated the way that the world has presented.
If you get called a nigga, that's a whole nother level of hate. When you get called a nigga, you know somebody about to try to kill you.
Yes.
When you get called a nigga, you know they don't even see you as a human, and they see you less valuable than a dog. I'm a dog. I was born to hear the dog. I love animals. But when your human life is worth less than the smallest creature on the earth because you just a brown person, that's a different type of hate. And we've engineered an approval for it here in this country. We created a whole infrastructure for it. And that's the scary part. Now people are recognizing it and having to deal with it. Shit, I don't have the answers.
It was created. They created it. So it's just like everybody wants to find solutions when the solution is to burn it.
I got to do something about it. It ain't our work. Our work needs to be like, I'm gonna say, moving 2021. Our work in our communities and our organizing communities, render support to your community. White people fight white supremacy. Fight this shit. Hold it accountable. Divest from it. Dismantle it. Do your fucking part. There's more y'all. Y'all got more money. You got more resources. You know more people. You know you got more stability. All of that is a tool for white supremacy. Use that shit to dismantle this stuff because we're not going to stop. But we got the evidence that you don't give a fuck. We got the evidence that you benefit so much to where you don't have to do anything. You can decline to care.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a problem for your children because our babies know better now. They know better. I'm so tired of it. I'm like, we're very, this for 2020, for us to be here at this time period, for us to have like another Emmett Till, for us to still be talking about killing babies in the streets. And, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot. Even for us to be able to do this rally, we kept wanting to reconnect and do it, but it's so heavy because like, we're not here for entertainment. We're here to kind of process and digest what we've witnessed as community members and what we're witnessing as friends in this movement, so that people can see us from outside of the news articles and everything else. But we people, like we wouldn't do this shit if we didn't love people, if we didn't care about our communities, if we didn't want more for our grandkids. But the fact that that's debatable, that people still debate that value, it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't have answers for it. I usually be trying to tell people what to do, but I ain't got no answers for this. I'm sorry, Demetria.
They have to just do the work. It's their time for these white people to do the work now that they have been woken up and see this white supremacy. It's time for them to do the work, dismantle all of that. They see it in their friends, their bosses, at work, at home, dismantle that. This is what we're working for. These little bitty victories is what we're talking about. One person talking to another person to wake another person up, telling everybody, wake the fuck up. You see it, call it the fuck out. Call it what it is. Stop trying to pamper it and sweep it under.
Ask us what to do, because guess what? It's so much that needs to be done. You're going to think we crazy when we tell you all the things that need to be done. I know people get overwhelmed when they sit down and talk to me like, whoa, I just wanted to do one thing. Well, do it and don't ask me.
Right, because we got to
do that one thing then. Because come on. That's like seeing somebody drowning and saying, okay, what do you want me to do to help you? Pull me out.
Bitch. Well, I don't know how to swim. Well, why you over?
Pull me out. Get somebody that can pull me out. You gonna watch me drown and you just gonna grab my shoe or something? Like what you asking me? Pull me out. Or keep it moving so I don't count on your ass.
Period.
Who you gonna be? So we can keep doing what we're gonna do, because we're gonna do what we're gonna do. But 2021 is about community building. It's all about community building. We don't give a fuck about nobody that's running for office. Y'all run your own elections, figure it out, get your people registered. But we're gonna fuck with our community real hard and make sure that people got the resources that they need and that they're engineered and educating and organizing in community, because that actually does work. But they're not gonna be able to use our work and use our backs to get where they need to go. Somebody, and I would say like how we had everybody divest and reinvest in communities for mutual aid. Now is the time to divest from politicians that don't stand accountable to our communities. Now it's time to hold them accountable to meeting on the front line with activists, and not just the activists that they're related to and that have proximity to people that make them feel comfortable. They don't get to appoint the leaders in our community. That shit is propaganda. Reject all forms of propaganda because it doesn't serve us well. Especially when it comes from our oppressors. That's some bullshit. So let it go.
All day is some bullshit, and
Let it go. Liberation matters. That's it.
This is what's going to happen. This has to happen right now. You either on board or you get the fuck off, because this is not a train that's going to derail. This is a train that's going to be a marathon. We are going all the way until we get what we fucking want. Point blank, period. We about that life. We refuse to give up. This is what we do 24/7, 365. We're not going nowhere. And the more people on the team and the more people that's in united with the fact that we want change and mutual aid in our community is what happens. That's when we're going to have change, period. Everybody has to get on the same board, on the same train, because our lives matter. Our kids' lives matter. They're our future, and they need to be eating good and watered good so they can live good. We all need, period. Everybody, free us that's enslaved in this work of going all working how many hours and get us out of this prisons, period. Stop enslaving us. Stop killing us. Stop trying to suppress us from doing what we need to do to be successful. Period.
Exactly. Any final statements besides we love you, Andrew, and happy birthday? Any final statements, Demetria or Andrew, before we shut down?
Well, I think everybody needs to stay woke. Shit. I mean, don't celebrate, the fact that we have, white supremacy still in the White House. This is for us to go harder. I mean, even harder, and don't get swept up in the politics of the democracy and Republican and all. It's about what's right. It's what's best for our community.
Police communities, give the land back.
That part all day. There's nothing else to say. We're going to keep doing this. I know every Saturday I'm game. You game?
I'm a crybaby. I get emotional because I know that, just being able to be with community is important to me, and I haven't been able to. So I'm down.
Yes, because I cannot,
People in the chat love us, y'all. I just wanted to say that. I said we're getting lots of love in the chat. Love y'all. Sorry for being a crybaby all the time.
People need to say more often. I posted that shit. People need to tell each other they love them. I love you, and because we're not guaranteed, and we're all fighting. You know what I'm saying? We won't.
I've been over the last couple of weeks. I've been working. Being able to spend time with some of my loved ones that are dealing with like end of life stuff and all that. So it's been a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm like, just love the time that you get to spend with each other, just you know, even if it's just quiet time, like we don't always have to have something to do to be together, you know? Get used to being human again. I think if nothing else we've learned in COVID that there's a whole lot more important stuff going on than what we could buy or where we can go, or how we can, you know, be entertained.
It's
Yeah, it's the holidays. You know, I know some people celebrate, some people don't, but take time to reflect on your families and share pictures, share stories, document some stuff that you think is important, that you want somebody you love to know. But do some stuff just to come closer together. Like be intentional about it. And don't be alone if you can help it. Being alone during this time is hard. You know, build a bubble if you can with somebody that can look out for you. And if you don't have people that can look out for you, reach out to your activist community so that we can be mindful to check in with you, because it's important that we stay together, stay tight.
stay together. Right.
What else, Demetria?
That we in it to win it. If y'all in it to win it, we doing this every Saturday so that we can get this change, you know, moving and rocking. And in the meantime, use your mutual aid. Be a mutual aid.
Yeah,
Do what you
build your own sheet. You know,
Yeah.
go on your Nextdoor app.
Yeah, that's it, I think.
All right. Well, I think we're done. Thank y'all for tuning in. We love you.
We love
Black
you.
Power, Black Lives Matter forever. Black Lives still matter.
This part,
He's so wild. And I don't want to be the mayor, but you know, if y'all make me do it, I'll do
everybody, this part.
it. I love you, Demetria. You wild.
Oh, girl, you know we got to stick together, queen over queen. You know what I'm saying? This is what it's about. You know, I told everybody back when this was starting, Stacey Abram, and it's funny how we have to always give some kind of validity when we're power anyway. You know what I'm saying? Until everybody saw how hard she went, and it's like, but if you do her backstory, just like what she.
I had met her. I had met her. She's from Mississippi. Right. She's where my family's from. They shoot.
Right. That's why I said what I said. And I said, you know, just like what all of us as Black women, we're always having to prove that we're good enough when we're good enough off the top.
And it's so sad that they see us as a problem. Like, why don't you do something to your hair? And can't you fix your face up? And maybe if you put this on, I'm going to still be Black, woman. I'm going to still be who I am. Don't try to change me to get along with me. Find out who I am as a person and seek to be okay with that. You know, it ain't propaganda. It's just people.
It's simple. And, you know, people just make it difficult. And it's just like,
I gonna kill us if we don't get off the air.
Okay. All right. All right.
We love you, Andrew. It's time to celebrate. Lots of love for you in the chat. Andrew, you getting birthday love.
What's your cash app?
Happy birthday to you. What's your cash app, Andrew?
Drop it. At least you.
Happy birthday to you.
You can follow Fingers Crossed on Instagram. And deaf people to support, and some ways to support the deaf community for sure.
Tell us how to do that one more time. How can we support?
Fingers Crossed Interpreting on Instagram, and we'll share information from other deaf people. You can help pay for interpreting services, etc. So that's one good way to support. And supporting Philip Wolf too, who spoke earlier and is the reason that me and a lot of people joined this conversation. So definitely throwing Philip some love too.
Yeah, Philip told me Black Lives Matter in 2016, and I think it was October of 2016 at City Council, because everything started going bad, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna cry, baby. I love y'all.
Love y'all. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Love you.
See you.